Palmetto police have now identified the Bojangles employee accused of opening fire and killing a man in the parking lot. His name is Maurice Evans of Forest Park. So Evans is now charged with murder after a shooting this afternoon at the restaurant on Roosevelt Highway. 11 Alive's Galat Malame spoke with the victim's family about what led up to this shooting.
Police say this shooting began with an altercation, and relatives I spoke to say that man was coming here just to try and help his daughter.
This is a sad situation, just sad. So I just hope justice be served.
This teenager had a dispute with her manager on her job. The manager was sent home, but he ended up staying in the parking lot of the job. And the teenager called her father and let him know what was going on. So the dad comes to her job and gets into it with the manager. They have an altercation. The manager ends up unaliving her father. Now everyone has lost. The father is no longer alive. The manager is in jail, possibly heading to prison, and the daughter no longer has her father. Why do you guys call family members in the midst of a dispute? Don't you care about your relative and what may happen to them? Don't you care about their well-being? If it's that dangerous of a situation, why not call the law? Why get your family member mixed up and involved in a situation that has already escalated? Y'all have to stop doing this. It never ends well. Usually it's going to escalate and cause more problems. Stop getting your family members involved and mixed up in your mess. And it tends to be women who are doing this, involving their male family members in their drama, even in relationships. Stop doing this. Why do people call their family members when they have a dispute with someone? Like, oh, I'm going to call my cousin. I'm going to call my dad. I'm going to call my Uncle Ray Ray. And it's usually females.
December 8th, 2025. A quiet Sunday afternoon in Palmetto, Georgia. A father drives to his daughter's workplace after she calls him upset. 30 minutes later, he's lying in a parking lot, shot 8 times. 3 of those bullets hit him in the back while he was already on the ground. His teenage daughter, the one who called for help, watches everything fall apart. And the person holding the weapon? Her own shift manager at Bojangles. Hey everyone, welcome back to She's Alive. If stories like this one get under your skin the way they get under mine, and you believe these voices deserve to be heard, do me a solid right now. Hit that like button, subscribe to She's Alive, and turn on those notifications because we're diving into cases that need attention, and your support keeps these conversations alive. Trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. Let's talk about Dominique Goodman. 43 years old, father of 5 children with another baby on the way. He worked as a top salesman at Honda South for 3 years, respected by everyone around him. Colleagues described him as someone who had his life together, someone moving forward with purpose. He wasn't just selling cars, he was building a future for his growing family. 5 kids already and 1 more coming. That's a man committed to his responsibilities, someone who showed up every single day to provide. Dominique had a teenage daughter named Amari. Like so many teenagers across America, Amari picked up a part-time job at a local Bojangles restaurant in Palmetto to earn some money and learn what it means to work. Palmetto sits about 25 miles southwest of Atlanta, one of those suburban communities where families settle down looking for safety and stability. The kind of place where a fast food job should be perfectly safe for a young person just starting out in the workforce. Amari was a waitress there, dealing with customers, learning the ropes, doing everything expected of her. Her shift manager was Maurice Nolan Evans, 25 years old from Forest Park. He'd been working at that Bojangles location managing shifts and overseeing younger employees. His wife also worked there, which becomes important as this story unfolds. On the surface, just another manager doing his job at a busy restaurant. But beneath that surface, tensions had been building, and on December 8th, everything exploded. That Sunday, Amari found herself in multiple arguments throughout her shift. Not just one disagreement, but several conflicts that kept escalating. One argument involved the drive-through window being left open. It was cold outside, and Amari apparently wanted to close it while Maurice insisted it stay open. Another argument centered around food handling. Maurice told Amari she was cross-contaminating hot and cold food items. These might seem like minor workplace disputes to us looking from the outside. But imagine being a teenager getting corrected and criticized repeatedly by your manager throughout your shift. It wears on you. Then Maurice's wife got involved, and Amari ended up arguing with her too. Now, it's not just her manager picking at her work, it's two adults in positions of authority over her, both criticizing her throughout the day. At some point, Amari had enough. She picked up her phone and called her father. What else would a teenager do in that situation? When you're overwhelmed and feeling ganged up on at work, you reach out to your parent. That's the most natural response in the world. Dominique received that call from his daughter. She was upset, frustrated, maybe even feeling a bit scared or unfairly targeted. As a father of 5 with one more on the way, Dominique knew how to handle his responsibilities. When your kid calls you from work saying they're having serious problems with management, you don't ignore it. You go check on the situation. That's what good parents do. They show up. But here's where this story takes its darkest turn. And this is the part that should make all of us pause and think. Another manager at the Bojangles recognized the situation was getting out of hand. They made the decision to send Maurice Evans home around noon, essentially ending his shift early and removing him from the conflict. Smart move, right? Get the manager who's causing problems out of the building. Let the teenager finish her shift in peace, and everyone goes home safe. Except Maurice didn't go home. According to what investigators discovered, Maurice Evans got in his car but stayed right there in that parking lot. He didn't drive away. He didn't leave the property. He sat there and waited, knowing full well that Amari's father was probably on his way. Think about that decision for a moment. You've been sent home from work. Your boss told you to leave. But instead, you park your car and wait in the lot with a firearm. What's going through your mind at that point? What outcome are you preparing for? Around 1:15 that afternoon, Dominique Goodman pulled into the Bojangles parking lot on Roosevelt Highway. He was there to talk to the man who'd been giving his daughter trouble all day. Everything we know about Dominique suggests he came to have a conversation, to figure out what was happening with his child at her job. Family members were clear that he wasn't looking to start a physical altercation. He wanted to talk adult to adult about why his teenage daughter was being treated poorly. Maurice Evans was waiting for him. The two men started talking, and according to Maurice's own later statements to police, Dominique swiped at him a few times, trying to goad him into a fight. Maurice also claimed that Dominique told his wife to get his gun out of his car, attempting to intimidate Maurice. But here's the critical detail that prosecutor Michael Sprinkle would later emphasize. Dominique didn't actually have a gun. He was apparently trying to scare Maurice, using words to de-escalate or end the confrontation without actual violence. Maurice Evans had a real gun, though, and he used it. Not once, not twice, but 8 times. He shot Dominique Goodman 8 times in that parking lot. But the truly horrifying detail that came out in court testimony later makes this so much worse. 3 of those 8 shots hit Dominique in the back. According to Detective Marcy Queen from the Palmetto Police Department, who testified at the preliminary hearing, the evidence showed something absolutely chilling. Those 3 shots to the back didn't come while Dominique was standing and facing Maurice. They came from Maurice standing over Dominique after he was already on the ground. Let that sink in for a second. Dominique Goodman, a father of 5 with one more child on the way, came to check on his daughter. When confrontation turned dangerous, he tried to get away. Maurice shot him as he fled, hitting him in the back. Dominique fell to the ground, and Maurice Evans stood over him and fired 3 more shots into his back while he lay there helpless. Officers from the Palmetto Police Department responded to the scene around 1:15. They found Dominique Goodman dead in that parking lot. Maurice Evans didn't run. He didn't try to escape or hide what he'd done. When police arrived, Maurice admitted right there at the scene that he had shot and killed Dominique Goodman. Officers arrested him immediately and took him into custody. The investigation moved quickly because the facts were clear. Maurice Nolan Evans was charged with murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. He was booked into Fulton County Jail. Police spent more than 4 hours processing the scene that day, gathering evidence, likely reviewing surveillance footage from the restaurant and surrounding businesses, interviewing witnesses who saw or heard what happened. The impact on the Goodman family was devastating beyond words. Amari, the daughter who called her father for help, now had to process that her dad died trying to protect her. She told reporters later that she doesn't even want to celebrate Christmas because it doesn't feel right. Imagine carrying that weight as a teenager. You asked your parent for help with a workplace problem, and they lost their life because of it. The guilt, the grief, the trauma of witnessing that scene, it's unimaginable. Family friend Marlene lately spoke publicly about the tragedy, emphasizing how completely avoidable this was. If Maurice had simply gone home when the other manager told him to leave, none of this happens. Dominique would still be alive, still selling cars, still preparing for his 6th child to arrive. His 5 other children would still have their father. Instead, they're planning a funeral during the holidays. On December 30th, 2025, just a few weeks after the incident, a major development occurred. A Fulton County judge held a preliminary hearing for Maurice Evans. This is where Detective Marcy Queen testified about those 8 shots, including the 3 to the back that appeared to come while Maurice stood over Dominique on the ground. Prosecutor Michael Sprinkle laid out the case clearly, calling it textbook malice. His exact words: Goodman fled from him, shot him 3 times in the back. Stood over him and shot him 3 times in the back. This is just textbook malice. Maurice's defense tried to argue self-defense, pointing to his claim that Dominique swiped at him and threatened to get a gun. But the physical evidence told a different story. Those 3 shots to the back, fired while Dominique was already down, destroyed any legitimate self-defense argument. Judge Todd Ashley heard all the testimony and evidence, and he ruled that the case would move forward to a grand jury for potential indictment. The judge even told Maurice directly that he wished he'd just driven away that day. New allegations have also emerged from the family's independent investigation. Attorney Robert Linza Williams, Jr., representing the Goodman family, stated that their legal team uncovered evidence suggesting Maurice Evans had a history of violence and may have been using substances while working his shifts at Bojangles. According to Williams, there's evidence this individual was using substances during his shift and had been violent before, even toward customers. If these allegations prove true during trial, they paint a picture of someone who should never have been in a position of authority over young employees. Maurice Nolan Evans remains in Fulton County Jail without bond as this case moves toward grand jury proceedings and potentially a full trial. The legal process will continue, and the Goodman family will have to relive this nightmare in court, sitting through testimony and evidence, watching the man who took their loved one sit just feet away. This case forces us to confront some really uncomfortable questions. What drives someone to wait in a parking lot with a firearm instead of just going home? How does a workplace disagreement with a teenager escalate to 8 gunshots and a father dead on the pavement? When does conflict cross the line from heated words to irreversible violence? And what warning signs did people miss along the way? Think about Amari, who has to grow up without her father because she called him about trouble at work. Think about Dominique's other 4 children and the baby who'll never meet their dad. Think about the ripple effects through their entire family and community. And ask yourself, how do we create a world where a parent can check on their child without fearing for their life? If this story moved you, share this video so Dominique Goodman's name and memory reach more people. Drop your thoughts in the comments about how we prevent these tragedies and what justice looks like in cases like this. Subscribe to She's Alive if you haven't already, because we're committed to telling these stories with the depth and respect they deserve. Check out our other content where we cover cases that demand attention. Let's keep talking about this because silence doesn't bring change, and these lives matter too much to forget.